Nas Daily on the Ranveer Show, one of the most legendary content creators of this recent content creator generation. Asked him about the future of content, asked him what the 2020s are going to look like, asked him about his secret formulas for success. Without revealing too much in the intro, I'm going to allow you to slip into one of the heaviest podcasts, especially if you're a content creator. Take notes because this one super value adding, but also super positive because he's one of the most positive guys I've come across. He's one of the most positive dudes we've had on the podcast. And now I'll allow you to slip in to Nas Daily on the Ranveer Show. Nuseir Yassin, namaste. Welcome to the Ranveer Show. Welcome to this Indian vibe. People love you here. I love your vibe as a content creator. So much freshness, so much positivity.
Thank you.
What's your driving force? What's your driving force, man?
Ranveer, thank you so much for this. I tell people sometimes, why the hell do Indians watch me? And I think it's because they think I'm Indian too. I am brown, I care about the same things Indians care about. And I've also visited India many times. So sometimes I feel like I'm more Indian than Israeli or American or Palestinian.
I've visited Israel once in my life, and I've traveled a lot all over the world. Not as much as you have, but I have traveled in my life. And Israel's one of those places that stays with you forever. Just something about your country, man. I can't define it.
Israel stays with you forever, for good or for bad. It is a very... Yeah, it's a very controversial country. The most controversial country in the world, I would say. But they're definitely doing a lot of things right, and they're doing a lot of other things wrong. And that's, I think, what's unique about Israel.
Yeah, as a tourist, you don't really get to see much of the wrongs. You go to like the touristy spots. You speak to the locals. But what stayed with me is, man, I feel like it has this very, very unique energy. Most people that you communicate with now, I don't know whether it's because we were tourists, and we are clearly tourists. We look different than the rest of the people.
Yeah.
People are nicer. People have this different energy, and there's so much history attached to that land.
Yeah.
So again, as a tourist, when you're seeing it from an objective perspective, it just stays with you.
For sure. I think Israelis have something, you call it chutzpah, which is, it's just like slight rudeness, but straightforwardness. We are straightforward. This is what we mean. This is what we care about. If you come off as rude, it doesn't matter. Like, that's what chutzpah is. Get what you want with your own hands. And to some extent, it's quite. Many people in the world could learn something or two about that from that.
Yeah, 100%. Also, possibly one of the world's most intelligent populations. And I feel from a modern day perspective, it's yourself and Yuval Noah Harari who've put Israel on the map. So
that's a big statement, Ranveer. Thank you so much for that. I am nowhere near as smart as Yuval. That guy is crazy smart. But it's funny because my intention has never been to put Israel on the map. I'm actually Palestinian Israeli. So I belong to both nations in some way or form. It's very complicated. So my relationship with Israel is as complicated as your relationship with your ex-girlfriend, So I don't know about your marital status, but it's a very complicated relationship.
No, I get it, man. But I'll reference something Vishen Lakhiani said on this show. He said that he doesn't belong to a nation. He belongs to mankind in general. And that just kind of put a seed of thought in my head. And I strongly believe you're in that same bracket. You lived in Singapore, you lived in Dubai. You're from both Israel and Palestine. And I feel the nature of the work you're doing, man, it's very, for lack of a better word, spiritual. But you are putting out a lot of goodness out there. Despite people trying to pull you down. Like, I know about the whole Al Jazeera thing that happened. And, I'm dead sure there's more people than just Al Jazeera who tried pulling you down. I don't get why. But, it's a little, makes me a little sad that someone who's doing such good work is kind of pulled down. But that, I guess, is the nature of mankind in some ways.
Yeah. I think... generally speaking, there has never been any change in the world without drama or without controversy or without someone getting angry. Like, anything that is new or about to change something, there is resistance to it. Like, look at the apps that we use today, right? Like Uber. When Uber came along, so many people protested. They wanted to kill the entire company. But now I'm sure you cannot live without Uber or Grab or Lyft or whatever. Same with delivery apps. Like anytime. So the way I like to think of it, I think of it as a compliment. Like, how dare someone from Israel and Palestine come out and not make me hate Israel? How dare someone come out and talk about this part of the world without going into the politics? How dare they do it? How dare they not be on my side, whether I'm Palestinian or Israeli? I think that is actually, as basic as it sounds, is relatively new. Because for 70 years, there's been a lot of conflict. And social media, before social media, the only people that get to speak are the broadcast companies like Al Jazeera or CNN or whatever. And they have an agenda that they'd like to pursue for decades. When social media came along, now some schmuck from a village can say his opinion and reach as many people as a broadcast company. And that is amazing. So that's why I think there's a little bit of controversy, because it's new. The idea that a kid can reach millions of people is new. It's no more than 7-8 years old. So I love that. I love that.
Yeah, okay, just want to interject there with a bit of spiritualism. One of the books, actually a bunch of the books I read on the concept of spiritualism, says what every major religion of the world originally says. Treat people as you treat yourself. And the other thing is, consider everyone a piece of the same flesh. There's no difference between someone sitting in Brazil versus someone sitting in Nepal, someone sitting in Japan versus someone sitting in Alaska.
Right.
It's all the same. And on the other end, we have social media, which is polarizing people, which is making everything you versus me, and no grayscale. So, I mean, I feel like we're entering some dark times before things get really positive. I feel like thanks to content like yours, thanks to content like Jay Shetty's, people are going to eventually become positive, but we're going to go through a dark phase before that.
But Ranveer, do you think religions came to unify?
Initially, yes. I feel that way back, all the religions said the same things. I feel like, and this is kind of what Yuval also says in all his books, that initially the goal of religion was always good. And then over the years, religion became a power game. So people near the top of those religious sects said, no, let's change up this rule and let's change up that rule. Or let's tell the people that this rule actually means this. And then that's why it kind of got twisted over time. So one of the spiritualism books that I've read also says this controversial thing. They say in about 2500 AD, which is like 500 years from now, it's probably not going to be any religion. It's all going to be like one thing. We're going to end, the whole world is going to follow one kind of thought process.
It'll be the algorithm. The algorithm will be the next religion.
Why don't you expand?
I mean, you pray to that, right? We pray to the algorithm. We're like the first followers of this new religion. Will the algorithm like my new video, my new podcast, my new image, my new ad, my new product? Oh, the algorithm doesn't like it. Well, make another video. So I definitely pray more to the algorithm these days than I pray to God, unfortunately. But maybe that'll change in the future.
Yeah. I mean, I read this amazing thing on Twitter once. It said that every single person has a God in their life. They just call it different names.
Yeah.
So for some people, it's the algorithm. Some people, it's Krishna Bhagwan. Some people, it's, their diet. If they put their diet at the forefront. Everyone has something you get offended because of, and that's probably what you call God.
That is true.
Anyway,
but that's a temporary thing. I don't want the algorithm to be, my savior. I don't want it. It's such a pain. That's a pain that every creator has. So I would like it. I would like to change it at some point. Maybe I want shareholders to be my new God.
Okay, heavy question straight up to you, Nas. What's the next 20 years of your life looking like according to where you stand right now? And I know you're someone who doesn't seem like you plan too far ahead, but where would you like life to take you? 20 years.
20 years, that's a good question. Because I usually try to plan, 5 years at a time. But look, generally speaking, as creators, some creators enjoy being creators. So they just enjoy being in front of the camera and they just make one show every year, make $1 million and call it a day. We love it. Attend as many award ceremonies as possible and that's it. I've never actually been a front of the camera creator. I think this is just like a new idea. I've always liked the idea of being behind the camera creator. So my next 20 years, I'd say I would like to make Nas Daily work without Nuseir. So my real name is Nuseir. I would like Nas Daily to become a big thing without relying on me. Which means by default, you have to build a company. You have to find teammates. You have to build an organizational structure with accounting, hiring, video making, deal making, partnerships, tech, everything. So I've been really fascinated with the idea of Nas. Nas actually means people in Arabic. Many people may not know about it. They just call me Nas. But if you look at my videos, they're always about people. Almost always, like the last few months, so many people's stories, this person, this person, this person, this person. And so I would like the Nas group. In the next 20 years, I would like to build something called the Nas group, which is the people's group, in which we create products, we create organizational institutions where it empowers that are good for the world. So, for example, we have Nas Studios right now, which is a studio company, a production company that creates content. And it's great. It creates content, it helps brands, it makes money. Then we have Nas Academy, which is a way to empower individuals to become an academy themselves. It's a technology platform that we're building right now, which we think could grow really, really big in the future. And in the next 20 years, I see myself building Nas Hotels, Nas Tours, Nas Fund, Nas Gov. I think that's my 20-year kind of like goal. After that, I think I will lose meaning. I will lose meaning in companies. I will lose meaning in products. I will lose meaning in, profit and loss statements, accounting, and all this stuff. I will not like the private sector anymore. And after that, I think the public sector becomes an interesting place to be in, because that's where you can have true change in the world. Media is very powerful, but then what's even more powerful is the person writing the law. And so I think between private and public, I think that's usually kind of where I see the pursuit of meaning is.
Wow. Do you think you're going to get into politics at some point?
I think it's not something that's like exciting, but it's if you look at the options ahead of you, like if someone says, I truly hate the way the world lives right now. Like if someone lives in India right now and says, I truly dislike the traffic in India at 5 p.m. I truly dislike it. What can you do to change it? That's really the question that must, comes down to. Okay, you can make a media campaign against it. You can go volunteer and raise awareness about it. You can build a car that moves a little bit faster or a little bit smaller. You can build better traffic systems and sell it. You can make more infrastructure, get into the real estate. But I think at some point you realize no matter what you do, the problem of traffic has not been fixed. The only actual solution to the traffic problem in Mumbai is the freaking governor or the president saying, hey, we're going to limit the number of cars starting from next week. Okay, bye-bye. No more than 5,000 cars on the road at this point of time. Great. You've limited, just like Singapore. Done. So I think solutions actually exist much more on that level rather than on the ground level.
No, that's gorgeous. Plus, with biohacking coming into play, people say that anyone who's our age, I'm born in 93, you're born in 92, chances are that we're going to live till at least 2092 and 93. And then it's a question of how far do you want to take it after that? Mm-hmm. So it's a weird question to ask someone. And I'll tell you the reason I'm asking you this.
Yeah.
I feel when you're born with this blessing that all content creators are born with, which is violent creativity, where you're thinking of new ideas all the time. You want to do a million things. So do I. I'm thinking in a parallel tangent to what you're thinking. And that's thanks to that blessing of creativity that you and me are possibly born with.
Right, right.
So the question is, if you get a chance to live till the age of 200 in a healthy body, would you want to live that long and change the world for like 200 years?
Wow, that's a good question. I don't think I've ever been asked that question before. The way I think about it, if I live to the age of 200, it means that I'm going to see everybody around me die. Like, well, am I the only one living 200 or everybody living to 200?
Your core group lives till 200 at least. With you.
Okay, my core group. That's a big difference because I don't want to live forever because every person I meet, I'm going to see you die. Like if I see my kid, I know I'm going to die before my kid. So I will not have that sadness. and I'll be able to be emotionally attached to my kid. So if my entire core group lives to 200, I would take it. I would take it in a heartbeat. Because then I can start making much bigger bets. Right now, the bets we're taking are on 20 years, 30 years, 50 years max, which is what can happen in 50 years. Flying cars, great. But if I'm living until 200, then for sure I'm going to buy real estate on Mars right now. It'll change the way I live today for sure.
Right. Do you study the future a lot? Because I anticipate that as a content creator, you do. And specifically for your kind of content, I'm sure you study the near future. So I'm sure you've been asked a zillion questions about the pandemic. But what do you think this next decade is looking like? Do you think it's a dark decade? Do you think it's a decade filled with light?
You should have Yuval Noah Harari on this podcast. I had him on my podcast 8 months ago, and it was one of the top rated episodes we did because he only thinks about that, right? He only thinks about it. He looks at the past, and because he extrapolates to tell you how the future is going to look like. I generally think in 5-year chunks or 1,000-day chunks, maybe 3.5 years. I don't think too much about how the long future looks like. I feel like we're going so fast that you need to start looking into easier chunks. Do I think the next decade is going to be great? Yeah, dude, I'm so excited. The next decade is going to be amazing for the top 40% of the world. It's going to be really shitty for the bottom 60% of the world. So I would say, if you're listening to this in India, you gotta make sure you make it to the top 40%, because I think a lot of jobs are gonna just disappear. And I don't think governments, either India or even Switzerland or America, will be able to keep up with the change. And a lot of people will be poor. Generally speaking, I mean, they will not be poor, but they will not have something to do. But if you're the top 40%, you'll have something to do and you'll have a lot of fun doing it. What do you think?
I mean, while we can't predict every single industry, I do see a rise in content creation and consumption all over the world. Like they say, Netflix invested $21 billion in just the last year on their content, and they've still not kept up with the demand in terms of how many new shows people want to watch, how many new content pieces people want to watch. So over the next 10 years, if you give every single human being the weapon of creativity, I feel they will find a job either within the field of content or they'll apply learnings from the field of content in other jobs. For example, once you learn how to run a YouTube channel, you've learned titling, thumbnails, search engine optimization. You can go work in a digital marketing company. You can go work in an app and help with the UI UX because you understand consumers that much. So if everyone's equipped with the weapon of creativity, I do feel that they'll kind of be a little more safeguarded for the future. And I also feel that whatever business you want to launch, content creation is going to be a part of that business over the next 20 years.
Yes.
So you might as well know the ABCs of it. Just the way we learn mathematics in school, creativity and content creation should become subjects. And content creation isn't just videos. It could be articles. It could be poetry. It could be, all these things that they told you in school that, okay, do it for fun, but this is not going to make you money. No. Go back to that. Learn how to write essays. Learn how to take photographs. You'll be safeguarded.
True. I mean, I remember my high school days, I memorized so many equations for nothing. I don't need to memorize that crap. It is incredibly useless. So I should have paid more attention into my storytelling class. Because honestly, when you're a kid, if you're a kid right now listening to this, also, storytelling still to this day doesn't equate to a job. It does not equate to a job at all. I remember 2 months before I started Nas Daily, my colleague told me, hey, do you want to come to this storytelling class in New York for $400? And I was like, $400 for what? Just so I know how to tell better jokes? I didn't know that storytelling is what's going to make Nas Daily succeed. And so I think for people, it's our role, me and you, to make that connection between storytelling class to making money as a job much clearer. because right now it's still very, very, very foggy.
That's what you're trying to do with the academy you've launched.
Correct.
And I'm also working towards building some kind of an academy. In fact, a lot of the ideas you said, I'm doing the Indian versions of that, like a sort of Indian version of it. But the big gap I feel that needs to be filled is exactly what you said: education. If you empower people, if you show them the bridge between working on the creativity and making money, that's great for the world.
Yes, exactly. That's why I think right now the way social media platforms have built it, which is I take 50%, you keep 50%, or get 1 million views and I'll give you $500. Are you joking? Like I made 1 million people interested in this video, so your platform could have a valuation of $100 trillion, and you're giving me $500. And if it's in India, you're giving me $200. That's nuts. So I think at some point, the valuations of these social media platforms will be shared to the creators at some point.
The next question, of course, is about the future of social media. We're seeing the rise of Clubhouse. It's an app that's coming up in the States. It's only on iOS. I have a lot of my entrepreneur friends who tell me, hey, get on Clubhouse. You'll be great on Clubhouse. But I feel Clubhouse, maybe it'll take off. Maybe it'll grow, you know? What else do you think is the future of social media? Are we going to see another TikTok-style revolution? I believe when virtual reality comes in, everything's going to change up. The world is going to become Ready Player One. Have you seen Ready Player One?
No, not yet. But I'm excited for that. I mean,
yeah.
When virtual reality comes to a person in India, not a person in San Francisco with $50 million in their bank account. When virtual reality comes to a person in India and becomes affordable, man, all production studios are going to have so much fun. It's going to be a great, like it's essentially restarting, right? You stop text studios, you kill the normal video studios, and you build new studios. So you literally have like a transfer of wealth and a creation of more wealth with this new industry. And that is exciting, like creative destruction. Like for example, right now, the way I think about it is, okay, oil money. We all know oil in the next 40 years is going to end. There's $1 trillion in value in oil. That means if you are in a sustainable industry, like solar or wind or whatever, you're about to get a $1 trillion worth of value transferred to you from this company, because it's going to die, to you in 50 years. That is exciting. So I'm really excited to see the transfer of value from industry to industry. And if you can guess the next industry, like you're gonna get most of that transfer of value. And so this stuff gets me excited for sure. As to exactly what that platform is going to be, honestly, no one knows. Like it's very, very difficult to know. Like Snapchat and TikTok and whatnot, we go based on cycles, and I feel like news goes on 7-day cycles. Like I care about something for 7 days until it doesn't matter. Like the state capitol riots, nobody freaking talks about it anymore, which is crazy. So 7-day, interest. I think the world has social media like 5-year interests. Snapchat was cool, then it's not cool. So I'd rather not look into the fluctuations of this year and next year. I'd rather look at the general trend upwards and capture some of that value.
You know what I've thought of over the course of my career? Sometimes out of frustration, sometimes out of just, again, violent creativity. I've thought of the fact that some creators should get together and build the next social media platform where it's more creator friendly. I mean, if we are talking about that gap in the market, why not a Nas Daily, a BeerBiceps, an Abhi and New, a Jai Shetty get together and build out like the next big value-adding platform, or at least guide it. And I feel like I'm gonna at least attempt that sometime over the next 10 years. The businesses I'm doing right now, I feel are a warm-up for that business. That's my dream kind of goal in life.
Yeah.
Why not create the next big tech product? And don't say, oh, it's an Indian-built tech product. Again, it's a product of the world. It's a product of the community.
Yeah.
With a creative community, and if we're talking about, oh, it's kind of unfair to us, let's make it a fair game.
Yes. That's so funny you mentioned. I think it could work. I think no one has genuinely attempted that. Usually it has been like singers putting their name on brand deals with new apps coming up. I think the issue may not be, I wonder if the issue is the supply of content or the demand for a new platform. I wonder what is it that drives people to hop on to a new social network or a new platform, a new app.
I've worked on an idea like this with someone. I mean, every entrepreneur has failed startups. One of my failed startups was something like this. And the place we got stuck at was the supply of content, which we actually solved. But that process would take a lot of bandwidth. Like there was a solution to it. But at that stage of my life, about 6 months ago, it would take a lot of money and a lot of my own time and energy, which I didn't have time for because this podcast was taking off. And I feel like maybe, you know, when I'm more financially equipped, I'll be able to do that much more easily. So the problem was the supply, at least from what we had kind of gauged.
Yeah, but don't forget Quibi, right? Quibi fixed the supply. You know, they had so many shows. You know, Quibi, the app that had raised $1 billion. They had so many shows. The demand just wasn't there. So maybe the supply wasn't good enough. I don't know what it is. I definitely think that with Snapchat, the reason Snapchat took off or stories is the demand for ephemeral, like 24 hours and it's gone content was high. Snapchat was the supply. It wasn't like a creator-driven app. And I wonder if, I don't even know if TikTok was. I think the demand for short content that makes me happy was high. TikTok was just there as a supply. So I would probably look at it like, what is the demand for in the future and build the supply for that. Rather than putting BeerBiceps, like to be honest with you, if I go on a different platform right now called Nas app, out of the 30 million followers that we have on the internet, 100,000 will care. 100,000. The remaining 29.9 million do not give a flying damn because there's no demand for that thing. So I that's generally the way I look at it. So I'm a little bit more pessimistic on that front. But if you make it work, I'm all yours.
No, I mean, I don't intend on calling it the BeerBiceps app or the Jai app or the Nas app, but I intend on calling it the Avengers of the social media space.
Maybe. Good work.
I do have some solutions there. I mean, the app that we had designed was a short format based app where we had kind of spoken to some UI UX people and had figured a way to make it addictive. That's what TikTok had done. The algorithm was an expert at making the experience addictive.
Right.
So if you interacted with TikTok for 15 minutes of your life and interacted with a few videos, commented on something, engaged with something, the algorithm was so sharp that it knew exactly what to show you in order to make it addictive.
Yeah.
And that's why all the TikTok clones couldn't keep up because they didn't have the strength of the algorithm. Like the TikTok core team had a bunch of psychologists as a part of the core team, which were like, you know, they were calling shots. They were trying to figure out how to make it more addictive all the time. So I feel there is a solution, but it's about the right brains coming together. It's about a lot of teamwork. But maybe it's 5 years away. Let's see.
Well, call me up in 5 years, man.
Yeah. Speak to you in 2025, Nas. Or 26. Keep thinking it's 2020. Okay, but let's talk about 2021 to 26. Considering YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, with what we currently have at our disposal, what's your vibe about content? How's content evolving? I'll tell you how it's evolving in India. It's becoming a lot darker here. In a fun way. You know how people get offended with humor nowadays?
Yeah.
But the humor that's starting to pop is actually kind of dark and offensive. And some people look at it as, no, it's too evil or whatever. I kind of look at it as a fresh change. I'm not saying it's good to offend people or hurt people.
Yeah.
But sometimes dark humor is what the world needs to just take itself less seriously.
Like, so the question is, what is the evolution of content or social media platforms?
Answer both separately.
Man, if I knew, I would be sitting at $50 billion worth of value, right? I don't know, but we're making guesses. We all try to make bets on the world. 5 years ago, I made one bet. The bet that I said was, I think software engineering may not be for me. I think Facebook videos are going to be very big in the future. And back then, nobody thought Facebook videos was a thing. Nobody cared about Facebook. Everybody was like, "Are you a YouTuber? YouTube. I love YouTube. This video is on YouTube, so yeah. Sorry, but I was like, I don't care about YouTube, and I still don't. What I care about is I think Facebook could work in terms of a video platform. 5 years later, now we have Facebook Watch. Now we have 90% of our viewership and exposure coming from Facebook and 10% coming from YouTube. And it's working quite amazingly for us. So what you see what's happening is TV becomes YouTube. TV's dead. So YouTube becomes TV. YouTube becomes Facebook. because Facebook becomes a video platform rather than a place you share with your friends. Facebook used to be a place you share with your friends. It becomes Instagram. Instagram now where people share with their friends on the stories. Instagram itself, the place that used to be visual, where you just consume visual content, becomes TikTok, and so on and so forth. So slowly, sort of the chain, kind of one thing kills the other and it moves platforms. And then from TikTok, like text, I don't know, whatever it is becomes communication becomes WhatsApp or whatever. So TV, once TV dies, so TV is the first to die, then YouTube is next to die, then Facebook is next to die, then Instagram, then TikTok. And so that's why right now we are building up on Instagram, like content-wise, uploading frequency and usage, so that when Facebook dies, hopefully it doesn't, we're ready for the next YouTube, which will be Instagram. You know what I mean? I think that's the evolution of social media platforms. I could be wrong, but it's another bet that I'm willing to take. Another thing I would say that's going to happen is I think not only social media platforms are going to change, universities are going to be radically different. The demand for Baijus and online education content is going to be unbelievably huge. Like, I cannot even fathom how big it's going to be. Because, like, University of Wisconsin is not going to make any money, man. University of Karnataka or Mumbai may not last. It's so expensive to pay tenure to a professor. It's so expensive to clean the goddamn building, and build it as well. So maybe IIT will continue to exist forever. But I think in general, all these like brick and mortar places where you go sit and have someone talk at you is most definitely going to die. Just as much as going to a taxi and hailing a taxi on the road. That's going to die. So what I think what's going to happen, all these social media platforms will empower content creators to become universities on their own right. So I care less about University of Wisconsin. I care more about University of Ranveer, University of Biceps. That's where I'm sending my kids. I'm sending my kids to India's smartest podcast to learn podcasting, So it's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, that's the big bet. So what you said about creating that thing called Nas, which means people in Arabic, we're creating something which is the Indian parallel. It's called Big Brain Company with the same intention. That I remember back when I was in college, the kind of education we get in subpar Indian colleges. So IIT, IIMs are your top layer, which is like where less than 0.1% of the country will go.
Yeah.
And then 99.9% of the country goes in these other colleges. And you'd assume that, okay, maybe there's a spectrum, but that's not true. 99.9% of the country doesn't get a great education.
Yeah.
Because the professors are not well paid. Therefore, it attracts the wrong kinds of professors. Therefore, there's just a lack of teaching, and you do need a certain level of teaching. Everything that I've learned in life is through people. It's rarely through reading.
Yes.
It's usually because of this podcast.
Yes. 90% of education happens through people, not through watching videos, like through live interactions. That's why, I don't know, Big Brain, how you're building it, but Nas Academy is primarily a live education company rather than just pre-recorded video, go watch it whenever you feel like it. So I think, like right now I'm learning, right? If you made 5 hour long of video about life, the completion rate on that is going to be like 4%, 2%. I mean, you see the completion rate on online content. But if you sit someone with you live, the completion rate on that may actually be 80, 90%. And it's about the education is about completion rate, not purchase rate. Most people say, wow, we have sold 5 million courses. Great. But what percent of that was completion rate? So that's what I think I would focus on a lot in Nas Academy and in other universities.
No, that's a beautiful insight, man. And they say that the future of social media is live streaming. I feel we're taking baby steps in that direction. But completely agree with you. They say that China is usually 1 or 2 steps ahead of the rest of the world in terms of their social media. And I think live streaming is still massive in China, but it's been massive for like the last 10 years when the world has been using Instagram and all that. Their biggest influencers are live streamers.
Crazy to think about. And it's only a matter of time until it comes to India and US and whatnot.
Yeah. So since we are talking about countries in general, I have to touch upon travel because that's usually some of the questions we get for you. But there's some places, and pardon my language, that you up in a good way. Let's start with India. What effed you up about India in a positive way?
It's actually it's a city called Varanasi. So Varanasi screwed me over, man. Have you been to Varanasi?
I know that you had some trouble there, and a friend of mine actually helped you with that trouble. Ayush Jaiswal.
No way. Oh, I know Ayush. Dude, what? India is such a small country. Everybody knows everybody. It's crazy. Or maybe the top 1% knows the top 1% because you guys are the top 1%. No, Varanasi screwed me over because, I've never seen a human body burn, right? I don't know if you have, but in the Muslim religion, you don't see that. So seeing Hindus burn dead bodies and throwing the ashes in the river, for me, is like a big mind F, mind. Like, how is this possible? Why are they doing this? And is this allowed? When I was there, I got exposed to a whole new set of different beliefs. Man, I gotta make a video about this. We have this. This is gonna be my next video. In 2 weeks, you'll see this video on the internet. And so, seeing a dead body floating down the Ganga River for me was like, wow. There is a billion people that believe something that I don't believe in. And that's when it opened my eyes to the idea that, really nobody has the answers. I may not be as right as I think I am. And maybe they're not as right as they think they are. So let's just accept them for who they are. Let's celebrate with their traditions. I'll celebrate with my traditions. Call it a truce and go on with our lives. But, because before that, you think you're right. You go to Varanasi and you're like, oh my God, this is next level. So maybe they're right.
Yeah. The way I look at it, and this brings me back to the debate between vegans versus meat eaters. So I've been a meat eater all my life, and I turned vegetarian about 3 years ago. And I feel like both are constantly at it. They're constantly like fighting.
Yeah.
But the way I look at it is reality for a human being is subjective. You believe what's right and wrong based on your perspectives. So meat would be food to someone and it would be dead animals to another human being. But in your heart, if you feel something's right, then okay, fine, that might be right for you. And the other thing I believe is as long as you're not hurting other human beings, you're not treat people as you'd want to be treated. That's the most important rule of life. And then everything else is subjective. Just don't hurt other human beings physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. That's probably how I look at reality, man.
Did you become vegetarian because of your religion, or because of health, or because of animals?
So partly because of animals. I got 2 dogs 10 years ago, and that's where those tickers started ticking. That oh wait, these things are also just like human beings. Therefore, I should stop eating meat. And the primary reason was meditation, man. Like I meditate a lot. And so in India, that's the blessing about being born in this country. You have access to good meditation schools. So in the gym, there's a technique behind how you lift weights or a particular kind of exercise. It does something to your body. There are techniques in the mental fitness and meditation world which you need to learn from a proper school. India has access to 100 schools like that, all of which are good. 1,000 which are not good, but there are 100 that are good. So, all the schools kind of converged at that idea where they said that if you turn vegetarian, it'll be better for your meditation. You'll be able to go deeper in your meditations. And the nature of our careers, content creators, is extremely rapid. Also, if you take on entrepreneurship as an added challenge, you're lifting a very heavy load compared to the average human. And I figure that, hold up, if I want to be able to lift that load, I need to have a really strong mental muscle. I saw that the meditation was helping that mental muscle, and then anything that aided the meditation would be my go-to. So that's the vegetarianism story.
Yo, that's cool. I've never had someone say that before. Like that's the reason why they became vegetarian. Do you think I became vegetarian too last year for not similar reasons, but my reasons were slightly different. It's like I only do what I need to do. I don't know. I don't do anything I don't need to do. So I don't need to buy a different t-shirt. So I have 20 of the same t-shirt. I don't need to show up to someone's party or whatever. So I don't go. So I only do what I need to do. So when it came to food, I was like, I don't need to kill a freaking animal just to put it in my mouth. I don't need. I can take a cauliflower, man. Cauliflower is awesome. So my, and I think it has some added benefits. To be honest with you, I did not feel anything. Like I still get tired. I still feel hungry. I still don't meditate. Like I don't feel difference, but in the heart it feels better. That's it.
Can I be rude enough to urge you to meditate? Just because I know you're someone with big missions in life, man, and it just gives you that added weapon. Why not have that magically charged sword with you?
That's a very good question. My girlfriend has been asking me to do yoga and meditate all the time. I've never, right now, I'm not sold enough. I may be sold in 5 years, 10 years, but I'm not sold enough that it's for me. But it makes sense. Meditation makes sense.
Yeah. At your own pace, man. Like, I remember when I started meditating, it was in the form of an experiment because I was a powerlifter back then. And I read that it helps with muscle recovery. So I was like, okay, powerlifting is my goal. Therefore, let's meditate. But you really see the benefits only a month into it. So until you've put your body through it for a month, you've put your mind through it for a month, you won't even see the difference.
See, to be fully honest with you, I'm a little bit scared of meditation because I know that right now, the energy that I have for Nas Daily and the reason I work on Nas Daily all the time is because I know it's all fake. The Nas group, all this, it's all fake. Like, it doesn't give you happy. Making money doesn't make you happy. Building a company doesn't make you happy. Like, I know it's a fake dream, pipe dream. And I think that meditation will make me realize it's all fake and will make me focus on the things that don't actually help you in your career. So, such as, spending more time with friends and family, being happy, going on long walks, doing la 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 la. And I'm like, do I want, I'd like to continue believing the lie for the next few years.
Yeah. So, okay. I mean, and this is just me sharing my experience. I had an ayahuasca experience when I was 22 years old. You're familiar with what ayahuasca is?
Yeah.
So, life-changing, all that. And my hesitation about doing it back then was exactly what you're saying. I don't want to let go of my career and I want to be tough with it. And the shaman back then had told me that it'll only give you what you need. And that's when I realized that there's two games going on inside you. Okay? One is the purpose you're born with, which is what you're doing through Nas, what you're doing through Nas Daily. It's your purpose. That's what you're going for in life. You have that warrior mentality with that purpose. You have a mission in life. And nothing usually shakes you off it. But the second purpose you strongly have to have, and this is just something I've learned from both the world of meditation and the Pixar movie Soul, which I highly recommend to everyone.
I saw it last week. Nice. It's a nice play. It's a nice one.
It's about getting high in the present moment.
Yes.
You find highs in everything. I am f***ing joyous right now that I'm talking to you and that you're teaching me. And I'm just with you. I'm nowhere else. The ability to be in that present moment and juice out all that joy from the present moment is what meditation actually gives you. So it won't make you, I mean, at least in my experience, I have the same issues as you. Exactly what you said. You're scared about you losing your bite with your career, the focus. I personally didn't feel that. And again, this is not me convincing you, man. This is just me sharing my experience because I feel like I have the same mindset as you. So like, it just helped me be grounded in the present, and at the same time, it made that vision even more clear. It gave me a lot of clarity with the mission statement that I'm doing this for this. And I also hear you talking about how you feel it's fake because that's something I felt as well. Like at one point, I used to feel like, no, all this is an image. It's too virtual. It's numbers. And then kids wrote to me about how they didn't commit suicide because of some piece of content we made 3 years ago, which I'd forgotten about. And then someone else wrote to me about how they came out of a breakup when I was going through the worst breakup of my life. And reading that kind of got me out of my breakup. And I realized that, whoa, this work we're doing, because we're so locked in on the next piece of content, we don't realize this big bank of goodness that's been built.
That's so cool. Remember at the beginning of the conversation, sometimes I said, I feel Indian because I see myself in exactly what you said. I think we have a lot of shared experiences. I totally agree with you. I think at some point, I like that line where you said it gives you what you need. The only issue right now, what I need is a good finance manager to join my company.
Well, outsource to India, man. Outsource to India. There's a lot of smart Indians out there who are looking for jobs in the content space.
Yes, for sure. And we're hiring, and if anyone is looking, please apply. Jobs at Nas Daily.
I have a section on this podcast from our Twitterverse where Twitter sends in questions for you. But prior to that, just as a brother, here's a question, man. Despite the meditation, despite all the blessings of my life, there are days where I end up feeling, a little bit heavy. I won't say low, I won't say sad, I'd say heavy with whatever's been built over the last few years and just, the pressures of the social media life. Do you ever have those kind of days? Because you seem like someone who's perpetually positive. While I know that's not possibly true.
Definitely not true.
Still would love to hear. Yeah, I'd love to hear your perspective.
So I think the best people to answer that question are the people that are closest to you, right? Because we may have a fake image of who we are. I may say I'm very positive, but in reality, I give away a lot of negative vibes. So there's that possibility. So I think the truth is everybody loves eating sausage. Nobody wants to see how the sausage is made. And at the company, we are making sausages. We're not enjoying sausages. This is delicious. So I think there's a fair amount of negative vibes that I give away. There's a fair amount of stress that I add to the lives of the people around me. And there's a fair amount of positivity and kindness that I add in order to make the sausage. So I think it's important to be aware of that. I'm aware of that and I accept it. I hope the people around me accept it. I do feel quite stressed often. I do feel quite lost quite often. And I feel sad, twice, 3 times a month, something like that.
What saddens you?
I think, as I say, comparison is the thief of joy. When you compare yourself to others in different times, I don't want to be like, I'm not Jay Shetty, right? Jay Shetty makes positive videos and is positive in real life. He's like, I'm content. I've mastered, I have the solution to perpetual happiness inside. And for me, I don't have the solution to perpetual happiness inside. In fact, I'm very tumultuous. What makes me sad is comparison. I compare myself to others and I'm like, fuck. How did they do it? And how do I not know how to do it? Why are they ahead in this race that we're at? So I do ask myself these questions a lot. Another thing that makes me sad is, endless dissatisfaction. When I first got into Harvard, I went home to tell my dad, hey, I got into Harvard. And he's like, great, what's next? You've just begun. I was like, no, this is the end. This is it. There is nothing else that matters. I am a Harvard student. I could die now. We are done. And why are you not happy about this? That's crazy. Now, 8 years later, I realize it is nothing to be a Harvard student, and there's a lot more you can do. So that perpetual hunger can make you sad and feeling hungry and left and dissatisfied. And I suffer from that all the time. I'm inspired by people like you or your mentors. Maybe you haven't reached it yet. I don't think you've reached it yet. But
and I haven't. I don't deal with your first problem, the comparison thing. My follow-up question to you was going to be, do you know the root cause of the comparison? Because I know the root cause of my lack of comparison. My mom always told me that I'm the best. So it's a subconscious mentality. I don't compare myself to anyone.
Do you think you're the best? That's my real question to you now.
I think I'm the best in terms of effort at my job. And there is a deeply spiritual side to the work I do. The core line of the Bhagavad Gita is Karmanyava dhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana, which means that you put in maximum effort into your work and you don't worry about the results.
Yeah, so I think that's where we are different. Maybe I'm not Indian after all, because you grew up as a majority, right? You look around, there's 1.4 billion people that have similar culture to some extent. They call themselves Indian. But I grew up as a minority. And I think growing up as a minority does mess you up a little bit because you grow up with a minority complex. You know, the minority complex is real, whereby society is telling you you're not good enough. Not just your mom, your dad. Society on the whole doesn't think you're worthy. And that messes you up forever. So I think the reason why I compare myself to others, because I know I'm not the best. In fact, I'm not good enough to be worthy of people's time and attention. Now, that is changing slowly as Nas Daily becomes more successful. That slowly changes. But eventually, minority complexes stay with you for a long time. So I always feel like I have something to prove. I always feel like I have to be better than the other because the other is the majority that has told me I'm not good enough. And I would like to tell them "F you" in their face, but I'm unable to at this point. But hopefully I will do that in 10 years.
You're a reference point for a lot of content creators all over the world. Therefore, their audiences, and of course your audience as well, man. So trust me, you got this, dude. Like Ronaldo thinks he's not the best. So it's one of those
because he is not the
man.
best. It's Messi who's the best. It's a joke. It's a joke. Yeah,
I mean,
no,
you
right.
know what I mean, dude.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. I mean, you're right. It is. I think also you could feel it too, though, but not on a country level, but on a global level. Like an Indian is not equal to a Swiss person. I'll tell you that. Okay,
100%. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
I hear you, man, and I've felt these emotions you speak of. Again, it's just all like the same grind we put ourselves through as content creators in terms of learning about cameras and sound and content and pace. I put myself through a grind of spiritual learnings which just answered a lot of these questions for me. So that's the only thing I'd credit stuff to. If you'd allow me to psychoanalyze you a little bit.
Yes, go.
Like,
please, give it to me straight. Don't make it nice. Don't make it nice. But give it to me straight.
Don't worry about it. I just feel that I love you, man, and I feel like you're an inspiration to yourself. You're very mission oriented, but you're super harsh on yourself, and it's gonna take you. It's gonna, like, in India we have a kind of meditation called Vipassana, which is 10 days of just silence.
Oh
where
yeah,
don't say
you know who
anything,
does that every year? Yuval Noah Harari. Yeah.
Yeah. If you go for Vipassana, you'll end up crying out a lot of pent-up emotions inside you from your childhood, from your experiences. And when you come out of it, you'll feel a lot lighter. Therefore, you'll have a lot more clarity. And with that clarity, you'll be able to go even faster than you already are going. You're one of the fastest in the world right now. You're Usain Bolt of this industry. But you'll be able to break even more records. And that's just what I think, man. Again, this is not me pushing you to meditate. I'm speaking from experience.
This is a very fair point. And my girlfriend says that all the time. I'm harsh on myself. I'm also harsh on the people around me. I could also be like harsh on the ones who are closest to me. This is fair feedback. But here's the thing, right? The harshness works. It's working.
It does. Yeah, for sure. But a business mentor of mine had told me that, if you get from point A to B with certain methods and you're constantly asking yourself, how do I increase my speed from B to C? You're not going to get there with a different speed if you don't change things up. So the question in your head right now is about how to make this faster. Like, I can see a lot of speed in your life. It's not just because of how fast-paced your content is. You think with a lot of speed. You create solutions with a lot of speed. So speed is what you desire also in your heart. And you'll get that speed when you silence yourself as well. So, just the way half an hour of lifting weights makes your muscles bigger, you'll gain that mental speed by just silence for half an hour.
I like that. I would like to do that just as an experiment. There's a very high chance I end up liking it. I think not talking for 10 days is something my team dreams of. So, so that could be very interesting to try. I would try it. I wouldn't say no to this. Like, if I come to India, you have
It'll be your halftime.
Yeah.
It'll be your halftime. And man, I see you as an author, a production house guy, an entrepreneur, everything going forward. And this is just going to equip you to get there. That's my psychoanalysis. Full stop. None of the shit anymore.
How much did it cost me? $0. That's why I like
Cost
India.
you it. Yeah. So Love, the singer, has promised me a trip to the Himalayas because he's also in the same zone you're in. Way more dark though. He did a podcast with us where he's going through a really dark time, and he's admitted that.
Who,
and
Love?
The solution we
Who's
came
that?
up. Love, the guy who did "I like me better when I'm with you." That guy. So anyway, he's this big electronic pop singer.
Okay,
Beautiful music. You should check it out.
Will do.
Some of his songs actually changed some thought processes for me.
Wow.
Same logic. You need to spend time in the Himalayas. Meet people there. For real. It'll help you.
I gotta say, man, you are promoting the image of India as a spiritual country to the max. I will spend it in a mountain in Kilimanjaro. Is that as spiritual? What is that mountain so unique? What's wrong with the mountain in the Emirates?
Okay. This is going to be a long conversation, but any place's culture is a sum total of every human being that's lived within that culture since history began. And just the kind of wisdom that's been exchanged in the Himalayas, the kind of mental health talk, the kind of mental fitness talk, the kind of evolutionary thinking talk that's gone on in the Himalayas has changed the culture there. The rest of the country has not adopted a lot of those features, and that's why a lot of the rest of the country suffers. But you will find true peace, true love, true happiness when you explore corners of the Himalayas, most of which are not explored.
Okay, that's fair.
So,
Fair point.
yeah.
Fair point.
Okay, we're going to do a quick Twitterverse kind of section of this podcast. So these are
do
your
it.
questions from, our Indian Twitter followers. Try making it short if you can because I want to cover maximum questions, but
Let's go.
feel free to let your emotions carry it through. Neeraj Mohite asks, one thing travel has taught you.
That humans are 99.9% similar.
Got it. Pawan Dudeja asks, what do you think is the best aspect of your videos? Why do people follow you?
It's the same reason why people hate me. It's the in-your-face energy, straight to the point, value addition.
Got it. Curvit Fitness asks, how do you maintain all your energy despite traveling so much and recording and editing so many videos?
It's the feeling that you are in the penalty. It's at like minute 90 in a soccer match, and you're about to hit a penalty shot and score a goal and win the match, the World Cup. That adrenaline feeling keeps you going no matter what happens. And that's how it feels right now.
Right. I feel you, man. Okay. The Nanagram asks, what do you do when you're physically exhausted? What does Nas do?
Bananagram. What a username.
The Nanagram. Nana.
The
is an Indian
Nana.
name. Anyway, go on.
Oh, I see. That was like the game Bananagram. I sleep. That's it. I love sleep.
Got it. Tolik Debnath asks, since Nas has traveled all over the world, he's probably seen nature being disrespected a lot. But what other negative thing are human beings all over the world doing collectively?
Human beings in most of the world collectively disrespect women. I've seen that in many cultures.
Right. And
Unfortunately,
that's something I hope. Yeah, that's something I hope that content will change because it's the content creators who are going to be thought leaders of the future. Deep Upreti asks, how does one become like Nas Daily? And I know you're going to say be the first Deep, but still, what's the secret to being Nas Daily?
1,000-day commitment to doing something every single day, no matter what. I think you'll end up being your own version of Nas Daily.
Okay. Kshitij Malhotra asks, describe North Korea in one sentence.
The America of Asia, except the opposite, where everybody is as restricted as possible, unlike in America where everybody is as free as possible.
Gotcha.
It's the other spectrum of humanity.
Got it. Okay. Vijayan asks, Nas, could you name your role models, please?
BeerBiceps, Casey Neistat. My role models. I don't like role models. I'd say inspirations. So Casey Neistat was an inspiration. Because role model implies you want to model things around a person. I don't want to model things around a person, but I'm inspired by a person. Casey Neistat, Richard Branson, and Mark Zuckerberg.
Beautiful. And I don't see anything else stop you from getting that to that kind of a legacy. And I'm not just saying that, but you probably need another content creator to sometimes tell you that, dude, because a content creator is the only other person who has the perspective that you have.
Yeah.
In some situations in life,
True.
at least.
True.
Okay, interesting question. Anirudh Roy asks, how do you fund your travel? Is it just from brands?
It started with self-funded. I saved enough money and I just started started spending it. And slowly, once you get more followers, you make a little bit more money. Now I fund my life through the company. The company makes money. It's a production company and an academy. So that's how we fund through contracts and corporate and government work and all that stuff. It's corporate stuff.
Got it. Sanu asks, as you've traveled to so many countries, what's the most fascinating thing you like about India and the people of India?
The most thing I like about people in India is that I think everybody I think I'm yet to meet an Indian that doesn't have energy. Like made a friend with an Indian. Like most Indians have energy. They're always on. The ones that I met. I mean, there's a lot, of course, that don't have. I think that's what I like. What I like and also don't like about India is that it's not uniform at all. Like zero. There's no statement you can say that every Indian agrees with. Even the word India. Some people say, no, I'm not Indian. I'm South Indian. No, I'm not Indian. I'm Tamil. I was like, okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's true, man. People consider it just like a coagulation of many countries in one. And that actually creates some issues. But maybe in like 10, 20 years, because of globalization, the Indians will kind of be a little more unified. That's my big hope and plea.
If I was up to me, I'd probably make 30 Indias instead of one India. And I would just make 30 different countries called India. Yeah. I don't that so diversity. I think it makes it difficult to go through with like progress to some extent.
Right. Ojaswa Kapoor asks, and this is the last question of the day, what is the thing Nas would do if he gained complete financial independence and all his material desires were fulfilled?
The exact same thing I'm doing right now. It has already been fulfilled. Everything I desire has been already fulfilled, materially speaking. So this isn't for the money. But that was a good question. That was a very good question.
Yeah. So create content out of the pure joy of creating content and impacting the world.
Yep. Yeah. And build a company. I'd say build a company that creates content. Slightly different. But that would be
a company version of the man Nas.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Institutionalize.
Gorgeous, brother.
Institutionalize the individual.
Right. This was a very fun chat. This was a fun podcast. So many questions that I've wanted to ask you for years since I started watching your content. Got answered today.
Ranveer, we should meet in person, not for podcast, just in person when I'm in India for sure.
Yeah.
This was very fun.
Do hit me up. I'd request you to give the youth of the world one last message, or if not the youth of the world, just the 16-year-old version of yourself. What would you tell that person?
Ooh, wow, man. You leave the hardest question to the end. I would say my only advice is look at what everybody around you is doing and do the opposite. That's almost always works. Almost always works.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
God bless you, brother.
God bless you too, my friend.
And I'm sure you will achieve what you've set out to achieve. Thank you for sharing all this positivity.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. And I will see you in the Himalayas very, very soon. Keep it up.
See you soon, brother.
Bye-bye.
For sure. See you.